Hey, this is Mike Addis. Thanks for joining me. It's always our pleasure to bring you these videos. Today we're going to talk about a real estate transaction in the general category of asset recovery. So asset recovery means, if you looked at our other videos, how do you turn something into cash? So the first thing I do is when I'm looking for a piece of real estate is I look at a particular area, because real estate is all confined into little sections, pockets. Most of my transactions are residential transactions, but it applies to commercial. Commercial is a whole different discussion. We'll discuss that sometime in the future. But now we're just going to be looking at real estate transactions that are residential real estate, and we're looking for a pocket, an area. So the area I live in has 110 houses. That would be a pocket. I call them pockets. You can call them zones. So I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, for example. I've done them in Austin, Texas. I've done them in California. I've done them all over the place in the United States and other places in the world. So I look at this particular pocket. It has 80 houses in it. I'm looking for one transaction to do, residential community, one transaction that'll change the whole market of that particular pocket or 80 houses. That's my big goal. My primary goal is to get something at 25 to 30% below the appraised value. Do I use real estate agents? Number one, do I use real estate agents? No, I do not. Why? I don't need real estate agents, because everything's available to me. All the information's available to you, number one. Number two, who do I use? I use appraisers. The number one person I always work with is an appraiser, not a real estate agent. Why? Because the appraiser is going to tell me how much something is worth. Number three, why do I use appraisers? Because appraisers have relationships with the bank. So if the appraiser says it's worth something, chances are the bank is going to say it's worth something, because real estate is a leveraged transaction. That's number four. Leverage is the key. I put up 10% on a $300,000 property is 30 grand. They're going to give me the other $270,000. It's a $300,000 transaction. I put up 10% is 30,000. They're going to loan me 90%. So I need leverage. That's the key to real estate, is leverage. That's the only reason why I'm involved in real estate at all, is because they leverage it. I put up X amount of dollars, they give me the rest of it. Make sense? So I go into the community and I'm sitting with my appraiser and I say, wow, what do you think of this area? He says, yeah, there's a house here that's way undervalued. It's 25% right now with no negotiation below the value. Let's say the house is worth $300,000. I think it was $350,000, but let's just use round numbers. What is the real value of the property? Well, this is 25%. It's worth like maybe almost 100 grand. That's 30% more than it's currently selling for. So it's worth maybe, $375 or $380. I said, wow, maybe I can get it at 30 or 35% below the value. So I go, the house is for sale, and I talk to the real estate agent. The real estate agent is the mother. She's going through a divorce, the daughter, and the mother is pissed off. She's the real estate agent. The daughter is her client, and they have 3 little kids. And the mother says, I'm going to make this house go away because I want my daughter to leave this house, leave this area, and move back to Ohio or wherever the hell they were living. The mother. I said, wow. I said, well, I'm interested in the property, but $300,000. She goes, well, that's way below value. I'll tell you what, I'll give you $250,000 for it. So now I'm way below valuation. Long story short, we make the deal at, $275,000. I don't remember the exact number. I can look it up. And then I go ahead and I sell the property to somebody else. I control the property now. It's going through escrow. I've got a couple of weeks to go, but I've lined up some other investors along the way. My goal here in this transaction is to sell the property and make money the day I close the property. So that's the whole point of this video. I'm going to do an asset recovery on this particular piece of property, which means I'm going to turn it into cash. Today, the day I close it, I sell the property for close to the full value. So it's $100,000 estimated money that I'm going to make on the day I buy it, and 10 minutes later I'm selling it to another guy that happens to be an investor. I'll tell you how to get the investors later. The only problem is the investor doesn't have the down money. So if it's $400,000, he needs 40 grand to put it down. Who's going to give him the money? Me. I'm going to give him the down money. And then it's going to come right back to me the day I sell it. I've decided in this transaction to be fair because he is going to be on the loan. So I'm going to buy it. I'm on the loan for 10 minutes. I'm going to sell it. He's going to end up with the property, which means he should end up with the majority of the profit in the transaction. I'm going to give him cash back outside the transaction, not inside the transaction. That makes sense? Now this could be a 20 or 30 minute video. I'll probably do a second and third video, but I'm just trying to get you to understand the concept of what I'm doing. I'm going to go into a market. I'm going to use an appraiser. I'm not using a real estate agent. I never use real estate agents. I'm going to go into the market unless I'm going to buy the property. But in this case, I'm using their real estate agent on this example. I'm going to find a property that's 25% below appraised value, which is what the bank realizes the value, not what I or the real estate or anybody in the community thinks it's worth. It only matters what the bank thinks it's worth because they're going to loan me the money on it. I'm going to get the property at 25 to 30%, in this case about 30%, probably it was closer to 32% below the value. I have an investor lined up to buy the property from me. He doesn't have enough cash. I'm going to loan him the money in a separate transaction, a separate company. It's a separate discussion. I want to get into that now. It'll take too long. The day I buy the property, I want to get my money out of the property, so I want to make a profit. There's about $100,000 profit in this particular transaction, but I can't take all that money because the guy that's investing in it, he's going to be on the loan. He's going to have to rent it out. In this particular case, he decided to keep the property. He's going to live in it. So out of the $100,000 profit, I think the 25% is good for me. Because what I'm doing is I'm going to buy something and I'm going to sell it simultaneously and I'm going to get paid that day. The day comes where I've lined up the title company. He has to have a title company that knows how to do these transactions, and I close the deal. I buy the property, have my money down. So at 10% of, let's say I paid $275 for it, I put $27,500 closing costs, let's say it's $30,000. I buy the property with my $30,000 down and I sell it simultaneously for $400,000, which is the true appraised value. The loan that he gets from the bank recognizes it worth $400,000 because it really is worth $400,000. I buy it, I sell it, there's $100,000 profit that comes to me, right? $475 minus $500 is actually $125, but you have closing costs, so let's say $115 or $110. I have the money, but I'm going to give him back 75% of that money. Why am I giving the money back to him? Because it's simple, because he's going to be on the loan. The guy that's on the loan should get the biggest piece of money. They don't teach you this in any of these real estate courses, but simultaneous closes are something that I developed, and I'm sure it's been used 100 times by hundreds of other people in much bigger transactions. I'm giving you a small transaction. Once I close the deal and I have the money and I give him his piece back, I have my $25,000 net cash and he has the other $75,000 or $85,000, right? Because $110 in his pocket. He ended up putting nothing down because it was all loaned money to him, but he's on the debt. You follow that? What's the big picture? The big picture is when I bought the property, it gets recorded at $275. What happens to all the other $400,000 valued properties in that 80 conglomeration of location, the 80 unit location that I talked about in the beginning of the video? It drives all the prices down. So everybody that had a $400,000 house in that community now has a $275 house because they're almost all the same. There's variations, but the square footage, the dollars per square foot is staying the same. I'm not talking about one-story buildings. I'm talking about the two-story because 90% of them are two-story. So they almost all fall into the same category. So in a way, I've driven the market down. Long story short, out of the 80 houses, I end up buying 10% in that community. They end up selling to me. Another gentleman was very, very sick. He needed to get out. Another family had a divorce. People leave for 100 different reasons. They're old. They want to move back to Chicago. A lot of people move to Las Vegas. So there's 100 reasons why people live in Las Vegas because they want to have fun, and then they miss their family. They want to go home. What did I do with all those properties? Well, I held the properties and used them because not all of them I was able to turn around like this particular transaction and turn it into cash. And I eventually sold them off. Some of the houses I sold to the renters. And I made all kinds of transactions. That's for another discussion. So once again, let's review the 5 or 6 things. Number 1, I want to identify a community with X amount of houses in it. Number 2, I want to sit with an appraiser. I pay the appraiser $100 or $200 for going through like 50 houses with me, called a soft appraisal. He determines, or she, but in this case it's a he, determines what the value of the property is worth. Okay, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to buy that property at 25% minimum, but I want to get it up to 35 or 40%. The more I do, the better. I want to make a deal with another investor because I want to turn this property into cash, which I did in the example I've already explained to you, and I want to close the deal. There's 5 right there. On the day I close is the day I buy and the day I sell. That's called an asset recovery. I'm turning an asset that doesn't produce any money into cash. And then I'm going to move on. And number 6, I've changed the whole complexion of the valuation of this particular community. There it is in 6 easy steps in less than 12 minutes. This is Mike Addis. We're going to talk more about real estate, because real estate is a great way to make money, because even if you're buying it and holding it and selling it and all those things, I talked about it in passive income. I'm not going to get into passive income right now. It's a great transaction, a great way to do business because it's leveraged and banks will loan you. This is Mike Addis. Don't forget to comment. We appreciate your comments, even though I may not see them as something that I'm happy with the comment. I'm always happy with the comment because it tells me something, gets my mind working all the time. So I love comments. I may not agree with them, but it doesn't make any difference. I don't agree with a lot of people, but I make a lot of money off of a lot of people I don't agree with. It doesn't make any difference. This is Mike Addis from beautiful North San Diego County at like 6 a.m. in the morning. Been up since 4. We love doing these videos for you. We really do. And our subscribers are moving up, like we're moving towards 2,000, which is pretty good for 6 weeks. Our views are up to 15 to 20,000 in the last 48 hours. So that means people are watching our videos. We hope to bring more videos to you, and we will. This is Mike Addis, once again from North San Diego County in a beautiful city called Carlsbad, right by the ocean. I love it. See you on the next video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for joining us.